All right, we are live again, theoretically. And I will again hope to the gods that we can be seen, and this time maybe even we'll get sound.
Hey, that
Uh,
would be that would be great if people could both see and hear us. That would be a really nice treat.
yeah, on our audio visual live stream that we're doing, if we could be seen and heard, that would be lovely.
Uh,
Alrighty, let's see if we can get somebody in the chat to
can,
confirm that we are finally this time actually visible and audible.
I'm going to share the new link around here too.
Yeah.
There we go. I got this while we're waiting here. I went and saw Solo, and they had
Oh.
these incredibly overpriced Solo commemorative cups. And so I had to have one. So I spent like $8 and I got a gigantic Solo cup. It's cool though. It's got stormtroopers on it and the Millennium Falcon and all kinds of cool stuff. So I don't regret it.
How was the movie? Because I've heard like the entire spectrum of everything from it's actually really good to like it's ruining not only Star Wars but movies and the universe and like everything is collapsing as a result.
So I thought it was way better than it had any right to be, and I legitimately enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a really fun Star Wars movie, and especially for someone that has played a lot of Star Wars RPGs over the years, it felt a lot like just a really solid like 3 session campaign of a fun like underworld sort of Star Wars RPG campaign. So I feel like the people who didn't like it probably have never played like a Star Wars RPG because I'm like, this is just like this is awesome. Like it just makes me want to play Star Wars RPG. It's like cool heists and fun action set pieces and like really interesting
Yeah.
NPCs and stuff. So I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I heard it was like the most well-produced session of Edge of the Empire ever
Yeah,
made.
it's exactly it. It's like it had a perfect setup, really good adventure hooks that were happening, and yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. I definitely highly recommend it. It's a bummer to me that it's not doing better at the box office. So I think people are just a little Star Warsed out right now, which is understandable.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, it looks like people can actually hear us, and they can actually
Good.
see us. So we have managed to overcome the machines. They tried to take us down, take me out for good, but humanity is resilient. We
Yes,
have found a way to make it work.
we cling to life for a little bit longer.
Alrighty. Well, now that we're actually officially here, I'll go ahead and say welcome everybody to Encounter Balance. I'm Jeff. I'm joined here today by the wonderful Matt Click. If you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself, I'm sure everybody who's watching this will know who you are, but just give a plug for any of the stuff that you got going on these days.
Sure thing. Yeah, my name's Matt. I run a channel called A Fistful of Dice, where I talk about RPGs and mostly run live games at this point. I don't do a whole lot of other videos these days. I also write RPGs over at Absolute Tabletop, which is an independent RPG publisher. We just came out with a book called The Mecha Hack, which is all about big robots beating the crap out of each other. It's like kind of a rules light based on the Black Hack game that people seem to be enjoying, which is great. And also, kind of awesome. I recently worked on a book called Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which is an upcoming Wizards of the Coast adventure module that is really awesome. And I worked on a bunch of it, and just cannot wait for that book to come out. And I'm so excited that I finally get to talk about it. It's really awesome. I've just been like, yep, I'm working on D&D books. Nope, it's not that one. No, it's not that one. Nope, it's not that one either. It's something else that I can't talk about. So yeah, so that is awesome. It's going to be a really fun adventure. I think people are really going to like it. So
Awesome. Yeah, it's very exciting to finally see something that you have had your hand directly in that you can say is like this is something that I've done actually like come
yeah,
out and be a real thing.
Yep, absolutely. Well, on the production schedule at Wizards of the Coast is like 2 years. So these are, books that have been in the works for a long, long time. So it's once you work on something, you don't actually get to see it and talk about it for a while, which is difficult. But yeah,
Alrighty, well, we are finally actually doing this. So getting into it. So basically, the idea of this stream was to kind of talk about encounters. I've seen a lot of posts in AbTab and other forums lately, as well as in some of like the Q&A topic videos that I've seen lately. People saying that like 5e combat is boring, that 5e combat is easy, that it's difficult to challenge your players or to push them further. And I think that's complete BS. I think that 5e combat is great. And I think that Matt agrees in general. I've seen him
yes,
kind of exercise that sentiment. So I decided it'd be cool to kind of bring him on to kind of talk through the ways that we like to spice up our own combat encounters, make them more interesting, more challenging, and kind of push into that realm a little bit.
absolutely.
Right, so something that I thought might be cool to kind of do with this is basically we're going to build an encounter. I have some like just some very stock stat blocks uh, of just like regular 5e bandits. Uh,
One of my
so I
favorite
thought basically,
monsters.
yeah. So the regular 5e bandits, I mean, they're pretty basic. Just leather armor, scimitars, crossbows. There's no real any specific information about them. So I thought that kind of as we go through each of our little tips and tricks that we like, that we could perhaps modify the stat blocks with that information, so we can kind of build an encounter to everybody as we go.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great. I like that idea.
Alrighty, so I'll put a link in the Hangouts chat to the Google Doc that I'm using if you want to hop in and try to mess around with it as well.
Awesome.
You can do so. I think is the doc actually visible on my screen? I'm seeing a gray screen.
Oh yeah, it doesn't look like it's actually visible on your screen.
Jesus Christ.
What? Okay, I can screen if I open the doc, I bet I can screen share and I bet people can see. We'll try that.
Perhaps.
Hang on. What if I open Skype and then I OBS
Yeah.
back to yeah.
Let me screen capture the doc in my OBS. I'll send that to you through a secure channel, and then you can put that onto your stream.
Perfect. Sounds great.
And then I'll restream your stream back into this video.
I think that's really the most efficient way to go about doing it for sure. So I think I need access to the doc, maybe. On the link sharing, you should be able to say, when you share the link, you should be able to specify that I can view.
I thought that I did that.
Yeah, it's given me a you need a permission little window.
All right, yeah. I don't know if you need a new link or not.
Cool. Perfect. Got it. All right, let me screen share here.
All righty.
See, this is an easily fixable.
Yeah. We did it. We solved one of the tech issues without having to like fall back to primitive technology.
We did it. Okay. Let me zoom in here so people can see it. Cool. Yeah. So you got some bandits in here.
Yep. So these are just like the bandits straight out of the 5e monster manual. It's pretty boring. I think like if you were just going to use 4 of those bandits, like I think we see a lot of 5e combats that are basically just like unnamed dudes that all have the same weapon that just make attack rolls, which I think is where people kind of start to run in some issues with like combat not feeling very interesting or exciting.
Right.
So one of the things that you actually put me onto that I think would be a good starting point is actually looking at what equipment that these people are using. So just the regular 5e bandits just have leather armor, scimitars, and crossbows, and that's all. So something that you'd like to talk about a lot that I've seen that I think would be kind of a good starting point to at least add a little bit of spice would be to take a look at what these guys have and potentially add some extra stuff.
Yeah, no, I love doing that, and I love stat blocks like the bandit because it is so simple and it's really easy to sort of modify to be whatever you want. So these bandits are your basic run of the mill, like stop you on the road when you're level 1 sort of bandits. But if you wanted to make them a little bit more formidable, a really easy way to do that would be to give them, like you said, Jeff, better equipment. So in this case, they have leather armor, scimitars, and crossbows. What if instead of leather, what if they had, their dex is not so high that we can't give them some medium or even heavy armor if we wanted to, because they don't have that. They're not going to lose out on that dex bonus from wearing the medium or the heavy armor. So, and you could even do things like, okay, well, there's 5 bandits. 3 of them are basic bandits, but 2 of them are like quote unquote heavy bandits, and they have half plate armor and they're carrying shields and they have heavy crossbows or something like that. So now all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more dynamic because you have some basic bandits and then you have 2 bandits that are a little bit more formidable. Uh-oh. Are you there, Jeff? Oh no, he froze. This stream is a really tough encounter. Good Lord. We just cannot catch a break here, guys. Let's see here. Oh, looks like he might be coming back in. Jeff, are you there? Uh-oh. Yeah, this is a deadly encounter, actually. This is like a CR like 12 or 13. Okay, hopefully Jeff comes back in here. We'll see. Hey, there he is. Maybe.
Can't win.
Oh boy.
Right. I'm. You hear me?
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit. Oh, and now you're frozen.
Hello?
I can barely hear you. Huh.
Is that any better?
Yeah, it's frozen now. All right. While Jeff sorts that out, I'm going to look at the chat here and see if there's anybody hanging out in the chat. Hey, guys. Cool. Jarl DM's here. Hey, Lloyd. Carol's here. Jaren from Power Up Gamers. David Weaver. Jeremy Lilly from Erasmus Expeditions. Hey, man. Yeah, sorry about the tech difficulties, guys. It's just one of those nights.
Coming through any clear?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I can hear you.
Perfect.
Man, it's just
not for this.
Uh-oh, you got all Transformers again a little bit.
Oh, God. Yeah, we've been having some weird internet problems.
Oh,
lately.
yeah. And that just, Hangouts does not deal well with that, so.
Yeah.
Lloyd,
clear enough at least right now too.
Lloyd says, would watch Matt make small talk while he hosts someone else's channel into infinity. That's the new show on Encounter Balance. It's called Matt Makes Small Talk.
Yeah, it's my new secret content generation strategy where I just have other people talk. for on my channel.
You bring
while I
on
pretend
guests,
to have
yeah.
tech issues.
And they're just forced to
Oh,
like.
sorry, my mic's not working.
Yeah.
That was going. Could you just start talking? Fill time.
Go. Just stall. Just stall.
Stall for an hour.
So I'm not sure how much you heard, Jeff, of what I was talking about, but I was mentioning that a really easy thing to do when you have a group of enemies like this, especially enemies that all share a stat block like bandits, is so for instance, in this sheet, you have 4 bandits. What if 3 of them were basic leather armor bandits? 2 of them were bandit heavies, quote unquote, that had maybe some half plate armor. Maybe they have a shield, and maybe they're carrying a weapon that does a little beefier damage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think something that helps a lot too that we can kind of look is that different of the different bandits having like different weapons. Not just necessarily like melee weapons, but maybe one bandit has a sword and a shield. Another might have a great sword who does a lot of damage, but he's going to be more vulnerable. Where another one has a bow. Just kind of having different ways to like mix up the ways that these people are actually going to fight and approach combat. So that way it's not just like just running at a guy and just swinging all their identical weapons.
Right. Yeah. No, and I like that for multiple reasons. And it also it makes it easier on the players to know, especially with Theater of the Mind, because you're being attacked by 3 bandits. One of them has a sword and a shield. One of them's carrying a great sword. The other one's standing back with a longbow. So it's like they can very easily say like, okay, I want to attack the bandit with the great sword, or, I want to move around the back and attack the one with the longbow. It's really easy for them to call out exactly which one they're going to attack, and it's easier to visualize, the enemies that way.
Yeah, exactly. So I think let's just kind of go through some of these guys and maybe give them some tweaks.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I think for this first guy, I think kind of like what you were saying, maybe this guy's maybe like one of the more leader types is going to have a little bit more beefier stuff. So maybe instead of leather, we give him like either medium or heavy armor even.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I think I like the idea of if he's the bandit leader and, they do bandit stuff, they steal from people, he would have taken the best armor for himself. So, maybe they took down a knight caravan or, a more formidable adventurer that was wearing heavier armor. He would absolutely have taken that for himself and would be wearing it.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's go ahead and I'm going to say he might just max out some chain proper.
Some chainmail, you said? Yeah.
Yeah. So that would already put him at AC 16 over AC 12, the normal.
Yeah, which is immediately
starting AC.
Immediately makes them a lot tougher.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if this is level 1 or level 2 or even level 3. 12 AC is going to be pretty, like, not guaranteed, but pretty close. But 16 immediately is now.
Yeah, it lessens the chances by quite a bit, for sure. Just going down the line here, another thing I like to do, especially with if it's some sort of leader or commander, is up their HP. So a bandit, they have 11 HP, which is, 1 crit away from death from a level 1 or 2 player character. So maybe the bandit captain has half again as much HP or even double HP, giving him between 18 and 22 HP would give him a little bit more staying power on the battlefield without making him too much of a bullet sponge.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Maybe
and that can just be
to like 20 then.
Yeah, and that can just be explained as like, he's more formidable in combat. He's been doing this a lot longer than the rest of the bandits, so obviously he's going to be sticking around a little bit longer in the combat.
Yeah, he's going to be tougher to kill on account of kind of being a little bit more into it.
For sure.
And then, do we like these stats for him, or do we think maybe he's a little bit stronger too?
I would say I I usually don't mess with stats too much, but for something like this, because they aren't getting much bonus to damage, I would maybe increase the strength or dex of this guy, and potentially give him a boost to charisma as well. Because if he's a leader, he's going to be doing a lot of negotiating, talking. He's going to be either intimidating, coercing his allies into fighting, or inspiring them on the battlefield, that sort of thing. So I would definitely up his charisma.
Little charisma boost, and we're gonna maybe give him a little bit strength, enough that he can use the chain armor, and give him a little bit more of a damage boost compared to what some of these other lesser guys might be.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. And Lloyd just pointed out something in the chat, which I think is a great idea, and I love doing stuff like this, is giving this guy some sort of leadership ability. Basically allowing him to... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say is like abilities and things is actually something that I was going to get into a little bit too later on, of just the...
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
So I definitely like that, and I think we should probably come back to that. I think maybe just like setting up equipment first, and then we'll kind of go into some of the abilities, so we don't like scatter ourselves across a billion different things.
Sounds good. Yeah, because then we can kind of do them all at once. Yeah, crazy. That's perfect.
Yeah. What kind of equipment do you see this like bandit leader having?
I like the idea. I like the idea that he's got a big old sword. I think he's probably, if he's a bigger guy, if he has, a +3 strength is no small amount of strength. So I imagine him hefting maybe a larger weapon, maybe a warhammer, a great sword, something like that.
It's so atypical from a bandit, but I think in a good way, where it's like this guy is really not just like some urchin off the street like stealing bread. It's knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's a professional bandit. This dude knows what's up. And it also means that he's killed a guy that's carrying a great sword, which immediately makes him a little bit more formidable. So
yeah. Well, already we've gone from like a 12 AC, 11 HP scimitar bandit like the rest of his guys to a AC 16, HP 20, great sword wielding guy. And we've also like, even just that's already kind of built in, like you were just saying, a little bit of story to this guy. He's killed like a warrior and taken that warrior's equipment, which means that he's clearly no slouch.
Yeah, exactly. It immediately makes him stick out a little bit more on the battlefield and makes him more of a character and less of just a monster. You know what I mean? Like this is a guy, this is a person, he has a backstory. He's a non-player character with some stuff going on.
Yeah, and that Lloyd said I was definitely picking up, and he's in the chat. He knows is as much as adding equipment have different enemies from each other. I'm a huge advocate of naming everyone. Like any enemy that can conceivably have a name, like I like to give them a name, just to kind of even build that a little bit further. So that way, if I bandit 1, bandit 2, bandit 3, bandit 4, you're fighting like people.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it when Lloyd does that. And like in our Jade Horde campaign, he does that a lot, where the enemies, it's not just like Orc 1, Orc 2, Orc 3. It's like it's like Snake Bite and Rock Tongue, and they all have names and they all have specific physical descriptions that Lloyd sort of builds throughout the combat, and they sort of become characters in their own right. And I really, really love that.
Yeah, so let's these guys. Well, definitely this leader guy, probably for the others too. Why don't you, if you have something?
Let's see. What would be a good name for this guy? Let's. Oh, Jeff just dropped. Uh-oh. Oh boy. Yeah, let's give this guy a name. Let's see. Let's call him let's call him Kurg. Kurg. Are you there, Jeff?
I think so. Hello? Can you
Yeah, I can hear you. You got Transformer voice a little bit.
So my internet was being weird. I switched over to my phone, which yeah, it's good. Let me see if my home internet's back to not being terrible.
Okay,
Real
cool.
quick.
Yeah, sounds good. Lloyd says, "Here we go, Matt. Small talk round two. Let's see. What can I talk about? What else? What else?
Better?
That instantly seems better. Try it. Do a short monologue to see if it's.
Alrighty. So theoretically, it should be working okay now. Is it coming through clear now?
Yeah, that's. It seems like it's much better. You're not stuttering or have robot voice anymore. So I think that's good.
Alrighty, perfect. All right, so we got Kurg. Is that Kurg? You said?
Yeah, like that. And then Lloyd just added onto it in the chat, and I love this. Call him Kurg the Hanged. And he has like a
Yes.
noose scar around his neck. I love stuff like that. I love it. Because then you're like, you don't just say four bandits come out of the trees. You say, four bandits come out of the trees, and one of them is this huge guy wearing chainmail armor, hefting this great sword, and he has a gnarly noose scar around his neck that he makes no no effort to hide. I love stuff like
Yeah.
that, man.
Like immediately now, like I'm already like curious about this guy. Like I see this guy in the game and like I almost don't want to like fight him or kill him. Like I want to talk to this guy and like see like how did he get these scars? Like how did this like bandit who's like going and robbing people in the on the roads, get chainmail and a great sword and have this wicked noose scar on his neck?
Yep, absolutely, for sure. And you can even, I mean, you don't want to go too crazy with this kind of stuff because then you lose track of stuff, and all of a sudden you're rolling up a player character as an NPC. But you could even roll a trinket and have him, if they kill him, they find a trinket, and it adds even more to his sort of his backstory and his character that he has this little trinket that he carries around, and I love stuff like that.
Yeah, like I don't even think we necessarily need too much more on the story end than like what we have
Yeah,
here.
no, I think it's
But
perfect. I think it's a great
it's
starting
already
point.
added a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
as far as equipment, does he have any other? I would imagine he'd probably have like a spare dagger or something like that at least. But as far as like
Yeah.
any more specific equipment, is there anything that comes to mind for this guy?
I'm a big fan of giving especially like commander enemies like something like a healing potion or something like that, just because it would make so much sense for a guy like this to hold on to a healing potion for himself. But I kind of like the idea of maybe making one of these bandits a minor divine caster and maybe having them be able
Yeah,
to do some healing.
definitely.
So I think he's good with what he's got right there. I think that's perfect.
Beautiful. Yeah, I like this guy. He's scary.
Because it's important. I love a nice streamlined stat block like this. Like there's not so much here that I can't just glance at it and know exactly what this guy can do. And like we said, we're probably going to give him some sort of leadership ability, but for now, I think this is great.
Alrighty. Yeah, I really like what we have so far with that. So I think this kind of since you just brought it up, I think Bandit 2 here. Maybe we should make him that guy. Maybe he's got a little bit of cleric in him. Uh
Yeah, I love that. Lloyd's just killing it in the chat here. Brother Finbar, fat disgraced drunkard cleric who fell in with the bandits.
I like that.
I love it.
Let me just grab that name here real quick. And nice little got underlined somehow. There we go.
Perfect.
All right, so we have Brother Finbar here, the fat, disgraced cleric, fallen on tough times.
That's
He's joined these
perfect.
bandits now.
I love that. And I think this guy, I think his armor and HP are probably good as they are. I don't imagine that this guy would be rocking anything nicer than leather, especially if he's a drunk. I imagine he probably sells anything of worth in exchange for drink.
Yeah.
But we beefed up Kurg's charisma and strength. I think this guy might have a little higher wisdom, maybe, since he's a disgraced cleric.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe give him like a 2.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's great, and that will up any sort of spell save DC that he might be doing too. If we give him anything other than a healing spell.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty, and so we'll get into like some of the spells and stuff, I think, on like the second pass through here. But as
Sounds
far
good.
as like just the equipment here, probably going to be something more basic, maybe even something as basic as like a club.
Yeah, I sort of picture him maybe even carrying like a quarterstaff or like a club, like you said, like just kind of a big
Yeah.
hefty piece of wood that he sort of leans on. If he's a heavy set guy and he's wandering around the woods with bandits, he's going to be leaning on something, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like the idea of him having like a staff that's like mostly like a walking staff, if anything. But because of his because of his stature, but it's a weapon in a pinch.
Yep, I think it's perfect.
I don't think I spelled that right. There we go.
And I also just want to point out really quick that I love this kind of stuff. I love like going through and tinkering with stat blocks, and it's one of the things that I loved initially about D&D was like photocopying stat blocks and like highlighting stuff and scratching stuff out and making modifications and stuff. And so this can be a really fun thing, and even just making these changes will make you they'll make you care about the monsters a little bit, care about the enemies, which will instantly make the combat a little bit more dynamic because you're going to be rooting for them a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of makes you want to actually. I think there's kind of a worry that for GMs that like if they like make their enemies like too good or even like smart, that it's gonna make the times worse for the players. But I actually find that it's typically the opposite. I know like a lot of the people that I play with think that too. It's like if you have enemies with personality that you actually care about as the GM and you want them to do well, like that in itself can actually make combat a lot more interesting, just because you're going to be more invested in them actually doing what they're supposed to do, which in this case is
Absolutely.
block the players.
Yeah. Well, and it'll help your players visualize things a little bit better too, like we were talking about earlier, and it'll give these enemies character, and it'll make them feel like they're actually fighting people and not just a stat block.
Yeah. And not only is it more like interesting just from the personality standpoint, it actually makes it a lot easier to like understand the battlefield as a player. Like if I say like there's one bandit next to you and there's another bandit next to your teammate, it's easy to kind of lose who's hit what and
Yep.
where and how. But if I say Kirk the Hanged, this man in chainmail and a great sword with a scar around his neck is right in your face, and Brother Finbar, the fat cleric, is off to the side next to your other, next to the other party member. Like
Yeah,
it's so
exactly.
much easier to remember as a player, where it's like, okay, yeah, you're not going to forget that there's this like new scarred man with a giant sword right in your face. It's going to
Yeah.
be a lot harder to forget that than it is just one of 4 bandits.
And this was a huge wake up call for me. The first combat encounter I ran for the Provokers was a combat encounter where I took stat blocks and did this with them and like named the characters, and like they were all just, what is it? Are they just called berserkers? Yeah, they were all just berserkers. But each of them had like, okay, this guy's gigantic and he has a great sword. This one is bald and she can cast a couple spells. And it was like instantly, it was so easy to run theater of the mind because everyone knew where everyone was. Because it was like, okay, they know that the sorceress the bald barbarian is standing near the back, the guy with the sword is up here, and it was instantly like it just clicked for me, and it was like, oh, this is how you run Theater of the Mind. Like you have to give them visual cues to hang on to so that they can keep track of everything, and it makes it so much easier and a lot more fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All
Well, I
right.
think
I think for this, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, if because we're gonna get into abilities in a little bit here, so I think kind of moving into this third person, I think this guy's like just like that real like skeezy, sneaky rogue bandit, like that,
Ooh, yeah.
like the guy that this leader can give the order to, and people's throats get slit. This like real nasty guy.
I really like that.
And I'm gonna give him just a little bit more.
I
I'm
was
gonna give
just
him
gonna say,
studded
hook the
leather.
brother up with some studded leather, give him that AC 13, which that
Um,
might go up because maybe we bump that dex up a little bit.
that's exactly what I was just gonna say. I think this guy's got a
Yup.
little bit better dex, so it's gonna move
Yes.
him up AC
Perfect.
14. Um, and I think this guy is gonna have definitely. I think he's got either a dagger or a short sword, maybe two daggers actually.
I like the idea of him having two daggers because then he can actually like the idea of him having just a bunch of daggers because I imagine him throwing them and stabbing with them.
Yes, yeah, he's
Like he
just
has like a
got
belt of daggers.
yeah. He's one of those like where you see the characters in the movies like in where they're like having to like take their weapons out and the people are like pulling daggers out of their shoes, like out of their
Yeah,
sleeve, behind their shirt collar. Let's just like he's just got knives all
I
over the place.
love that. Yeah, that's perfect.
Alrighty, so it's gonna be
I like the idea too that they're all different daggers. Like he just collects daggers whenever they rob someone or kill
ooh, yeah.
someone. He just grabs. He's like, "Oh, I want the dagger," and he just kind of collects them. He's like General Grievous from Star Wars, but with daggers instead of lightsabers.
Yeah, instead of lightsabers, he's got one dagger from each person that he kills, and he's
Yeah.
just got this collection of like one's like a really nicely made like castle forged dagger, one's like
Yep.
a ornate like clerical dagger, and then one's
Yep.
just like a beat up like farming knife.
Yeah.
Just
He's got like a chef's knife in there thrown in for good measure. I really like that.
yeah, I think this guy's good enough that he's going to be able to dual wield, so he's going to be able to use this one of the daggers as like an offhand.
Perfect. Yep. And that instantly okay, so a lot of people worry about damage, but the thing that really will up the punishment that you can deal is extra attacks because anytime you can increase the chances of rolling a 20 is like statistically that's how you deal damage is just more attacks. So if you give an enemy the ability to attack more than once, instantly they're a more challenging enemy and something to focus on in the combat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's especially at lower levels, which this is probably, I imagine this is probably like a level 2 or 3 encounter. So
That's
the party might
yeah,
not even necessarily be able to attack twice yet. So
exactly.
having an enemy that can is good. And I like what Lloyd put in the chat for this one. For Slate. Slate is this
Oh
guy's name.
yeah, I like that. That's a cool name.
Yeah, and he's just like just exceptionally sleazy. Like you look at this guy, if you saw him in the street, you'd be like, that guy is a bandit. Like
Yeah.
it's plainly obvious. Like
it's like there are some people where you just see them and you go, that's a criminal. I know. I
yeah.
like that guy does not have a legitimate job. This guy does something illegal for a living.
Yeah, I really like the idea that every dagger, like you can see all the different daggers that he has, and they're all different. Like he doesn't have a single identical dagger.
Dude, and here's another thing is this is a really good tip for if you're running for new players too. Make the enemies fun to loot. Like because that's instantly what players want to do is like, oh, I want to check their bodies for stuff. And you're like, oh, okay, so this sleazy looking guy has like 6 daggers on him and they're all completely different. And it's all of a sudden this guy's really fun to loot because they're like passing out these cool daggers, among themselves.
Yeah, and you can even use it to kind of plant potential, not even necessarily plot hooks, but like references. Like if one of the
Yeah,
players is like a cleric, you can put a dagger that's like that was one of like their holy orders, like ceremonial daggers, and it's like, wait a
exactly.
second, these guys have messed with my people in some sense.
Exactly. Well, and like you were saying, like one of the, maybe one of the daggers is an elven dagger, and it's from, an elven kingdom that the PCs will eventually visit or have visited, and so they're familiar with this kingdom. And it's anytime you can build your world with stuff like this, it's so much fun. It's so rewarding. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, and what about this last guy? What do you think Bandit number 4 is to kind of round this out?
So I was thinking of doing like a ranged guy, but then I'm thinking we don't have just like a sword and board dude. Like we don't have anybody who's just like shield sword like up there
Yeah.
kind of fighter guy. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking if you've got a sneaky dude and you've got a guy that's potentially healing people, you're going to want like more than one guy up close fighting. So I think this fourth guy is maybe just like a fairly basic sort of sword and board fighter. And I like the
Yeah.
idea that he maybe is like axe and shield, like battle
Ooh,
axe
yeah.
and shield, which is just one of my favorite weapon combos. I don't know why, I just think it's cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What armor are you gonna stash this guy up
Oh,
with?
I would say maybe studded leather. I think he ranks enough to get some studded leather. He's not quite at chainmail yet, but he's got some studded leather.
Yeah, that's some nice studded leather.
Yeah,
Alrighty. Um, and then so his AC is actually gonna be 15.
because he's got the shield.
I got a shield, so that already makes a big difference.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, and I know we're not to abilities yet, but I want this guy to have a shield bash as a bonus action.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I'm gonna give this guy a little bit of a strength. I figure he's probably got some meanness to him.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Battle
Maybe
axe is 1d8.
battle axe is 1d8. Yes, it's versatile. It could is it versatile? Yeah, so it'd be 1d10 if he was holding it with both hands. Yeah. I would maybe beef up that HP a little bit too. Maybe give him 16 like Slate has. Just a
Yeah,
little nudge.
a little touch. Yeah. Alrighty. And who is this guy? Tell me some a
Um
little bit about him.
so I like the idea. Lloyd said in the chat that he's a deserter from like a legion or an army, like military. Like this guy's a legit soldier. Um
Yeah.
and Lloyd says they call him Sarge mockingly, which I like. That's funny. But maybe let's call him. Let's give him an actual name here. Let's call him Kanan.
You want to spell that for me?
Let's do Kanin.
For Lloyd. But Sarge in parentheses there.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah.
Alrighty. So basically all we've done so far here is just change their equipment and like a little bit of stats and give them names. And this is already like an encounter, I think, that's like 50 times as interesting as where we
Oh,
started. Like
absolutely.
at least.
And people worry about doing stuff like this. Like they're like, oh, I'm not a game designer, so like I can't mess with stuff like this. And it's like, this is not game design. This is literally shopping. Like all we're doing is buying cool equipment for these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you can picture cool equipment and like a cool fighting style, you can do that. It's just so simple, so easy, and it's one of the easiest ways to make an encounter instantly more sort of fun and dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think now the for the added fun, I think we give some of these guys some nice abilities,
Yes, I would
some
love to do
extra stuff
that.
that they can do. I
Yeah.
think one of the things that I think is most lacking from encounters that I see. is some sort of element of surprise. And I don't mean like surprise round mechanical surprise, but just something that catches people off guard. You know, the
Mhm.
enemy suddenly uses an action surge or something like that, and it's like, whoa, they can do that.
Right.
Um, and it's like it adds so much tactically, I think, to the game where suddenly you have to kind of realize and think like, oh, I thought these were just dudes with swords who would make attack rolls, and now they're using these different abilities. It kind of makes you're forced to think and like adjust, which I think is very interesting as a
Exactly.
player.
It's the realization that these guys are not going to sit here and take damage until they die. Like they're gonna use their abilities to the fullest, and it's more fun as a game master to run combats like that because you have lots of fun tools that you can pull out to make it more challenging.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's not just the players who get to use all their fancy, awesome, cool abilities and
Yep.
have all the fun. While you're just like, okay, well, I'll make another attack roll again for like 5 enemies for like the fifth round in a row. It's like
Exactly.
you should have options as well, just as much as the players should.
I agree. Absolutely.
Alrighty, so for Kurg here, so I know we were talking about potentially some sort of like leadership ability.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe I'm looking through another really good thing to do is just look through monster stat blocks or NPC stat blocks and look for cool
Mm,
things that people have, and you can just kind of like pilfer those and add them to different stat blocks. So like, I'm thinking that maybe he can like use an ability on his turn to give a nearby ally maybe advantage on an attack roll.
so just well, it's basically just like help, right?
Oh yeah, so I guess that would just be the aid action, huh? That's something that exists. So how could we
Maybe
make that?
maybe he can like there's like the mastermind ability where you can do that as a bonus action. You can like help as a bonus action.
Oh yeah, okay, so that's cool. So he can do that as a bonus action, which still allows him to attack with that big beefy greatsword. So yeah, maybe just even something as simple as like he can use the help action as a bonus action. Yeah, perfect. That's great.
Yeah. So then we kind of get this vision of him like charging into battle with the huge sword of his, but then also still, barking orders to all the other people, uh,
Yeah,
and kind of keeping command.
and the nice thing about naming all of these guys is now all of a sudden Kurg is saying, Finbar, protect our flank, and Slate, move up alongside. He's sending out orders, and all of a sudden you're able to use these names. These names aren't going to waste. You're using them in role play in the combat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that he can do that. That's really neat.
Ooh, Jeremy has a nice suggestion in the chat too as well. The battle master maneuver, the commander strike, where you can give up your action to have somebody else make an attack.
That's really cool too. I do like that. Yeah, he can basically just say like, give up his action, someone can move and attack or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little loose with the templating right now as far as like the specific ability wordings. I'm not going to get too crazy into
Oh
that
yeah, no.
for
Well,
now,
and you
but
don't really need to as a game master either. Like you just write it shorthand. You know how it works.
yeah, this guy is pretty beefy now. Got a
This
good
he's
chunk of
a
hit points. Yeah.
formidable guy for sure.
Alrighty, I think that'll probably be good for him right now.
Yeah, you don't want to overburden these guys because you want to remember all the things that they can do. I feel there's like there's a point, like there's a line graph where there's a drop off of like adding, tinkering, where it gets to the point where it's like you don't even remember what they can do and you sort of forget all the cool stuff that you came up with. So I feel like this is a
Yeah,
good sort of balance.
especially because like it's one thing as a player where you can have your guy, but when you're running all four of these bandits as the GM at one time, like if they
Yeah.
all have 15 abilities each, then it's like that gets to be a
Yeah.
lot.
Exactly. That's another another good basic tip for new game masters is don't make your job harder than it needs to be. Like
Yeah,
don't set
exactly.
yourself up to be frustrated during the game.
as much as we can talk about how adding and tweaking makes it more interesting, like you say, there is a point where eventually, like, there's diminishing returns uh,
Yes,
to
absolutely.
how interesting it gets by adding more abilities and stuff to them.
Definitely, definitely. Cool. Yeah, I think he's good.
Alrighty, so Brother Finbar. So I think we were saying he's going to be like a cleric, so maybe it has some basic healing.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe also hooking him up with Sacred Flame
Yeah, I like that.
because I feel like that's something that he could bust out in a combat that like you're saying, the surprise, the players wouldn't necessarily be thinking that he's going to, bust out a Sacred Flame spell and be hurling fire at them.
Okay.
Oh, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you a little bit. I think you dropped a little bit there for a second.
Uh,
Oh yeah, you're cutting out again. No. All right, chat. What's going on, guys? Oh, Lloyd went to bed. Good night, Lloyd. Sleep well. Jeremy, how's it going, man? Yeah, Lloyd says that's how I get my players. Give baddies more attacks. I use low hit point, high attack baddies. That's a really good way to make combat quick too. It speeds up combat for sure because the battle ends quicker, but everyone's hitting a little harder. Yeah, Jeremy, I like the idea of giving him Bless too. Bless is a really good sort of good utility spell, and having him beef up allies is a cool thing for sure. All right, looks like Jeff's popping out. I'm going to pop back in here. We're resilient though, man. Yeah, I need to cast Bless on Jeff.
Hey, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry about that.
No worries, man. Jeremy had a good idea of giving this guy Bless as well,
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
because then he can beef up his allies as well. I'm doing well, Jeremy. Thank you for asking, man. It's been a busy couple months, but everything's good. Yeah, drunken prayer. His drunken blessings.
All right, and then I think we give him like a healing, like a healing
Yeah,
spell
hook
as
him up
well.
with a little cure wounds. Maybe we give him something like, I don't know, 3 slots or something like that for cure wounds and bless.
Yeah, I like that. We can start off with a bless and then have up to 2 heals go
Yeah,
alongside
I think
that.
that's perfect.
Alrighty, and I don't think we need too much more than that for Brother Finbar.
Yeah, I think he's good with some spells and stuff. Oh, did you type those in there? They're not showing up for me for some reason. Not you too,
Oh,
Google Docs.
yeah, I was gonna say I think my Google Docs switched to
Oh, offline mode.
offline
There
mode
we
when my
go. There
connection
we
dropped.
go. Sweet.
Alrighty, so it should all be there now.
Yep, I see it. That's perfect. Cool. Yeah.
Alrighty. So I already have some ideas that I'd like to give Slate here, if
Yeah,
you don't
throw them out
mind.
there.
So 2 things that's gonna make him real nasty. He's gonna have sneak attack.
Yep. I was gonna say he's gotta have sneak attack.
Probably just 1d6 at this level.
Yeah.
Players are probably only level 3, so we don't want to just completely shank them in one hit.
Yeah, exactly.
But one extra little bonus thing I'm going to give him is Sentinel feat.
Ooh.
Basically, what this guy's going to do, he's going to park next to Brother Finbar and throw some daggers at first. But if somebody goes up to try to kill the healer, he's going to take an opportunity attack at them with Sentinel.
Oh, cool. I love that. Yeah, that's perfect. And that instantly creates a strategy for you to use during the battle, which is great.
Yeah, and it gives the players like an opportunity to like fall into a small trap that's not necessarily going to be too brutal, but then learn from it. You know, somebody runs up and attacks Brother Finbar, they take this opportunity attack. They're like, "Whoa, wait a second! There's
Yeah,
that surprise factor that I didn't know this was something that could even happen."
right. They're
And
like, "Oh,
the
this
the
guy's
next guy's
yeah,
like,
he's guarding the cleric, so we can't just go up and hit him. We got to hit him from range or whatever. They have to it forces them to recalibrate a little bit."
yeah. So they either have to like you say, attack from range, or take out Slate first,
Yep.
or something else. Uh, which just adds a little bit of strategic depth to it, where they have to actually kind of think and adjust and adapt, or else they're going to keep taking extra attacks.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and that that sentinel is especially gnarly because if they're attacking the cleric within 5 feet, then all of a sudden he's got the sentinel opportunity attack with sneak attack, and he has advantage on the attack, or not advantage, but he gets that extra damage because they're within 5 feet of his ally. So
exactly, yeah. Which I think it's something that's I think underused, because I think GMs are scared that they're just going to kill their party, but like just having enemies that are actually like tactical, especially if
yeah,
they are like humans and things like that, where it's like these aren't just mobs in World of Warcraft that see you in the threat range and charge. Like these
yeah,
are
you
actually
can't
people,
aggro these guys.
yeah, who are going to have kind of a thought process to it, and especially I think if they've got crew member like Kurg, who's clearly got some experience, he's got to have kind of those guys a little bit, come up with a plan of attack rather than just
Yeah,
like,
I
there's
mean,
people, let's get them.
exactly. Like these guys have a routine, they have a strategy because they do this for a living, and they have obviously been at least somewhat successful at it. So they're not just going to charge at the player characters and hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of GMs sadly don't use as much tactics as they maybe could or want to,
Yeah.
for fear of pushing too hard. But I, I'm of the opinion, at least, that like I'd rather have an interesting combat that maybe doesn't go that well for the PCs than just yet another just round of attack, attack, attack till everyone's dead
As a
thing.
player, I enjoy being pushed like that. I enjoy having to think tactically and being forced to not just go through, my combat programming. I want to have to think a little bit more dynamically with each combat.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Slate's looking real mean now there. So Kanan, I think you said you wanted him to have like a shield bash.
Yeah, I definitely want him
The
to have a
real
shield
nice one.
bash.
Do you think like the bonus action from the Shield Master feat, where you can use the a bonus action to hit somebody, or is that maybe a little
Yeah,
bit too much?
I think well, here we got the I'm looking at the gladiator NPC stat block,
Ooh,
which
yes.
it allows you to, well, it's a standard action, but the gladiator gets multi-attack. So I would maybe allow Kanan to do a shield bash as a bonus action, but maybe just like 1d4 damage or something like that. Like just give it very basic, some 1d4 bludgeoning damage, but it's enough where it's like he's not just going to hit you with the axe; he's going to follow up with the shield bash and do some damage.
Yeah, I like that. Again, kind of adds that extra layer of people making multiple attacks that can get real dangerous.
Yep. Especially if he crits with that shield bash and breaks your nose.
Ooh, yeah.
Yep.
You're playing with a wound chart like me and Lloyd.
Yep.
It can can lose an arm that way. Let's just say that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think this is great. I think it's obvious that this is a crew that would rely on ambushing people because they don't have the advantage in range. There's no one with a longbow that's going to be striking at people from the forest. These are guys that are going to try and get up close before you notice. And so I think like laying traps, laying ambushes, that sort of thing would be sort of their modus operandi.
Yeah, especially like bandits too. I think like you're probably starting a lot with like being stopped on the road. Like they come out of the trees off the side of the road and go in front of your horses or your caravan and say, "All right,
yeah,
we're gonna take everything, or you're gonna take some hits back."
Yep, exactly.
But actually, I'm thinking there's one more thing that I want to add here. A nice, just one little extra item that I think I'm gonna give to Slate. Which is, I don't know if it's technically a magic item, but it like a consumable with an effect.
Okay, yeah.
Which I have something in mind. If you have something that you were like, yes, let's do this, then otherwise.
I always love things like acid flasks and alchemist fire, but I'm open to any ideas.
So what I'm thinking, just to add a little bit of an extra twist, is like a powder that he can throw at somebody that'll like silence them.
Oh,
so like if he sees like a cleric with a holy symbol or something like that, he can like throw this like silencing powder at them. Like they have to make like a con save not to like lose the like have it get caught in their voice or something.
I really like that idea. Yeah. That's good. Yep, witch gag powder. Dude, yep, I'm into it. That's great. And then again, this goes back to make the enemies fun to loot because everyone's going to be like, I want to get that powder that guy had. I want to grab that.
Yeah. I'm going to give him a couple just for that reason. We'll start with 4. I'll probably only get 1 off in the actual battle, but then they can like loot the rest.
That's perfect.
What kind of range? Maybe like how close do you think you have to be to use this?
I think probably if it's a powder, I'm thinking like 10 feet maximum because it's going to dissipate at any range greater than that. I really like that idea, though.
Yeah, and that gives him this interesting kind of dichotomy where depending on how the battle starts, he might have to kind of go away from his pal, brother Finbar, to get close enough to the caster to actually throw this powder, which might, throw off his sentinel strategy a little bit.
Yeah.
So it makes him have choices to make too.
Yeah, gives you options. Yeah, that's cool. I really like that idea.
Well, this is a pretty gnarly little bandit crew that we've managed to make here.
It really is. I kind of love these guys. I think they should have like a bandit crew name.
Ooh, yeah. Hit me with something.
We'll call them the Rusty Dirks. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. Alrighty, so one last little thing that we can add here is like an optional, is some sort of complication for both sides, like an environment that people can use, or something that's gonna happen partway through the fight, like something that's basically not just make this just a straight up slog,
right?
Some sort of extra thing that they can that we can put in here.
Some sort of like escalation that can occur in the midst of the fight. I like that idea. So I'm thinking these guys are bandits. They probably do most of their work on a bridge, on a road, something like that. So let's see. Let's think here.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea of them kind of being almost like bandit versions of like a bridge troll, where it's like the caravans are like crossing over this bridge over some like river or something like that, and that's when these guys make their move, where there's no like left and right to run to. You either have to run backwards or forwards.
You could even do like a what the two of them come up in front of you and two of them come up behind.
Ooh, yeah.
And you're fighting the battle on two fronts. Like maybe Kurg and Kanan, they're up at the front, and Slate and Finbar are sort of like at the back. Slate's ready to get those sneak attacks in, and Finbar's casting off those spells and stuff. Like I kind of like that idea. So imagining them like on a bridge or something like that. Like you said, you can't go left or right. You have to go forward or backward, but they're on either side of you. So you have to fight through at least two of them if you're wanting to run or anything like that. So maybe they have. I don't think they would have the bridge like rigged to explode or anything, but maybe they have some sort of like I don't know, like what would the medieval equivalent of like a spike, like a what are the spike strip that the cops throw out to stop the high speed chase, like something like that that would like,
trips.
Yeah, like caltrips or something like that that would like stop a caravan from moving.
Yeah, so maybe that's like how this fight starts, is like the horses are pulling the caravan over this bridge, and suddenly they just like the horses like step on these caltrips and they're like slow down.
I just had kind of a weird idea. What if? Okay, so they're on this bridge. What if they have like old siege equipment and they have this like pieces of a catapult, and they have the arm of the catapult rigged on the side of the bridge to essentially flip up and knock a cart over. Like they have basically a cart overturner trap that will knock the cart over and basically make it so you have to stop and right the cart before you can even try and get past these guys.
Yeah, so there's like basically this like catapult arm that like is like hidden like under the side of the bridge, and then when the caravan is coming, it like
yep,
like, and then it hits the side of the caravan and tips it.
Just tips it over, yeah. And like, can you imagine if you were like describing that to your players? Like, you guys are going across this bridge, and you get about halfway, and all of a sudden, this like wooden like arm just comes swinging over the side of the bridge, slams into the side of the caravan, and the caravan tips over. I need everyone to make a dex saving throw, or and it just all of a sudden the combat is like boom, kicks off with this bang. Or if you want it to happen, in the midst of the combat, you could have it occur in the middle. I love that idea.
Yeah, and putting it on a bridge, especially over water, gives the players some kind of like alternate options here, where you have a super nasty guy like Kurg, but it's hard to swim in chainmail. So if a player can get that nice, get him over to the side and then push him over, something like that, that could like kind of give alternate ways to solve some of these people.
Absolutely.
Where, you push a guy like that into the water, he's probably not swimming out.
I really like that idea too. Yeah, absolutely. Because the environment, like you're saying, the environment can work for and against the player characters. And if you have some sort of hazard or, cool environmental thing, the players can use that to their advantage too. And you should encourage that.
Alrighty.
Yeah, that's a killer encounter, man. I love this.
Yeah. So basically, the caravan goes over the bridge when suddenly just bam, the cart is sent tipping over from the catapult arm. That's when Kurg and Kanan come in from the front, with Slate and Finbar coming from behind. And they can start making demands of the players that they're going to take all the stuff and leave. Of course, the players are probably not going to let that happen, which means that they're going to have to crawl out from this caravan that's now on its side and deal with these real nasty bandits.
I love it. And I can just picture Kurg saying something like, "Problem with your wagon," or something, when he comes up on the bridge, just real shitty about it. I just love that idea.
Yeah. It's something. You guys seem like you're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah. And you just immediately hate this guy. You're just like, oh, I can't believe he's
Yeah,
being
we
smarmy
can
about it.
lighten some of your load for a little price.
Yep. Oh,
Get you moving across the bridge. It's like, oh, this guy.
this guy. I want to fight him so bad. Yeah. No, this is great, man. I love it.
Yeah,
It's super easy to
I'm
do.
very happy. Yeah, I mean, was gonna say it. The only reason it took half as long as it did is because of even doing and explaining it is because of all the tech issues. But it's like you could do this in like 5-10 minutes. Just do a quick pass, change some equipment, give an ability or
Absolutely.
two, give them a nice name and a description, a little environment. You have like what would be a very fun and challenging encounter. I think
Yeah.
at third level, this would not be an easy fight, especially if people have a hard time with the caravan tipping deck saves and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. This would be a really memorable fight. I could see it being really memorable. Like the characters would remember these NPCs. They would remember the loot that they got from them. Yeah. Oh, and Jaren Power Gamers just had a good point too. Could also use weather like heavy rain or fog. So you could have obscured visibility. You could have just the heavy rain, and those wouldn't even need to be things that were mechanical, but just they would add to the sort of the ambiance of the encounter. These weather effects, the raging river down below, the pouring rain, that kind of stuff goes a long way.
I really like if you did something like a thick fog too, where it's like that kind of makes sense how you wouldn't have seen these people on the bridge either, where you're just going through trying to like use torchlight to see what little bit you can, when suddenly bam, and they just these forms come out of the fog in front of you.
Yep.
And show up out of nowhere.
Yeah, and maybe you don't even see Slate and Finbar behind you through the fog. They kind of remain concealed for a couple of rounds, and then you're running in that direction and you run right into them and get sneak attacked or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. This is great, man.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I think since we were dealing with the tech issues and stuff, I think we should do a part 2 of this video maybe, and maybe talk about some of the other aspects of encounters. I know a lot of people had some questions and stuff too on Facebook that we could get through as well in a 2-part thing.
Yeah, we have a huge list of questions. A lot of people have some stuff that they wanted to kind of talk over, but yeah, I think at this point, just for time's sake, we probably won't be able to get to that right now, but I would absolutely love to dig into some of those.
Yeah, I'm down, man. Let's do it.
Alrighty. Well, unless there's any last thoughts on this, I think that'll probably wrap it up for today, but this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for inviting me. This was a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming, and also for bearing through many problems to actually make it work.
No worries at all.
Yeah. So for all the people who watched, thanks you for checking this out. Hopefully you enjoyed it. For the people who asked questions, we will get to those questions. We'll try to settle up a time here sooner rather than later to go through some of those extra stuff and talk a little bit about that, because I think there is some interesting stuff to add on from that. Yeah. Anything exciting that you have coming up or that you want to plug before we cut?
Let's see. I got Provokers happening on June 20th, which is pretty exciting. We haven't played for a few months, and we sort of were realizing I'm having a child in August, and so I'm sort of realizing between AtCon and my daughter being born, it might be a couple of months until we get a chance to play again. So we really wanted to get a session in. So we're playing on a Wednesday night, which is atypical of us, but it should be a lot of fun. The party is split, so I'm going to be prepping sort of 2 halves here with 2 very different sort of experiences. It's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, definitely tune in.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check that out. Alrighty, well, I think that'll probably do it for now. Again, thanks to Matt for being here. Thanks for everybody who watched, and be on the lookout for part 2, and we'll catch you guys next time.